So I'm Josh Jamias, one of the co-owners of Jamias Creative. I work with my wife, Mackenzie. We do social media and content marketing for a few companies here in Utah. This video call is being recorded. So in case there's anything you want to go back and review, you can definitely watch it again. But today we are teaming up with Shane Harder. I've known Shane for over a year now. Shane's done video creation for companies like ADT and Nike. He's done some really cool work, and he's probably one of my go-to people when I have questions about video or anything related to how to make it more accessible for myself, because I don't have like the skills or experience that Shane does, but Shane does a great job in helping us understand how to use video for our businesses. But before we turn it over to Shane, I have a few ground rules. First of all, please introduce yourself in the chat, your first name, last name, the company you're with, and your email. If you're interested in connecting with other people, I do think there's a lot of value in being able to collaborate and work with others and learn from others. So yeah, if you have if you're interested in connecting with some other people here on the call, leave your first name, last name, and company you're with, and your email address. And I'm sure between all of us who are participating today, we can definitely connect and learn from each other. Then if you have any questions, leave it in the chat. And after Shane is given his quick little presentation, we'll definitely go through and answer any questions that you might have. So yeah, turn the time over to you, Shane.
All right. Hey, thanks. Looks like we just got a few people here. We have Jody and Lindsay. Is that what you're seeing there, Josh?
Yeah, same.
Cool. Well, hopefully we get some more people in. Otherwise, if not, Jody and Lindsay, you guys just get a lot more benefit than anybody else. So cool. Big ups to you guys. Give you a high five. Come on, give me a high five, Jody. I can see you. There we go. All right, perfect. All right, so today is not going to be anything earth-shattering or groundbreaking, but they are really good fundamental principles that will help in video marketing during the COVID-19 pandemic or lockdown, whatever you want to call it. Today I'm using a switcher program, so you'll see me switch around a little bit. These are kind of my video notes and stuff. And hopefully it helps you follow along, but I also don't want to hang on that too much, because I find people just end up reading the slides instead of just interacting. So anyway, so today we're talking about, video marketing during this coronavirus pandemic. So I'm going to be going over these three main approaches to doing video marketing. And I like to think of them, I obviously doing video production, I like to do video content. And so what I wanted to do is kind of share these in context of movies. Jody or Lindsay, if you guys are not fans of Rocky, that's okay. I like it. I think it's fun. There's some really good principles to life in them. And the first principle that I like to think of when it comes to doing video marketing during this time is the eye of the tiger approach. So what I'm going to do is switch over here and give a reference to what I'm talking about. Hold on. So hopefully you can hear this. Sorry, it might be going on I have so many screens around here right now, it's hard to keep track of it all. And I made the blunder of not doing this. Hey, Lindsay, I see your camera. Of not running through this on a test run first. Just been putting out fires for other clients and stuff. So there it is. Okay. Hopefully we can get some sound in there too. This is such a classic movie moment. So are you guys getting the audio? Sorry. Here we go. Are you getting audio or no? Yes, no? No.
Audio on you, but not on the video clip.
I don't think it's there.
Thank you. Well, I'm just gonna skip over it then. Wonder why that's not going on, because that should be live. Thanks for your patience. No, not working. Okay, whatever. That's fine. That was just supposed to be something that's kind of fun, but essentially the idea is, the approach is that, you know, you're not going to back down, right? You have, the world comes at you. It's going to be tough, but we're all going to get through this together. And, you know, we're going to be able to, you know, no matter what comes at you, you're going to be able to fight back. What life's going to be hard. And no matter what, even if we're locked down, we're still going to push forward. That's the whole idea. That's the point that I'm trying to get through with this approach. And it's a perfect time. In fact, never before in the history of the world have we been able to have a situation where so many people are online at the same time. I have some stats here. So YouTube, over quarter one of 2020 has seen a 13% jump in views since quarter four of 2019. So 13% more people are currently watching YouTube than any other time in history, since quarter four of 2019 was the greatest, the most viewership they've ever had before anyway. And so there's never been a better time to jump into the video game and get your presence out there, get known. With that many people, with a 13% uptick in just such a short time, that's over 300 billion views. 300 billion. So you break down through 300 billion, that's basically 50 YouTube views per human being on the planet. That's if every single person in the entire world, including people who don't even have internet, watch something. That basically comes out to 50 YouTube views per person planet-wide. Little babies are included in all of that. So there's a lot of people watching video right now, and you should definitely be able to take part of it, especially if you're trying to fill your time with things if you're not at work. I don't know what everybody's specific situation is, but if that is your situation, this is the absolute perfect time. So I like to think of it as, I think branding, like upping your brand presence, is probably one of the best and most effective ways to do this. And so that's kind of what I'm going to spend some time on real quick. So, so here's a few ways. Basically, I came up with 4 different ways that are going to be helpful for you guys to basically up your brand. So let's see here. Cool. So first one is basically just ways to be genuinely helpful. One of the examples that I have for that is, I'll give you guys a video example here. And are you guys able to see my screen full screen, or is it? Okay, cool. I just asked because I'm seeing Jody's screen full screen on mine. I wasn't sure if that was translating for you guys or not. So one thing that I've done is, so I'm obviously in media production, and I know you're not hearing the sound here. This is from the exact same setting that I'm speaking from right now. It's just on my couch in my office. But what I did was I got this recent system that allows me to do live streaming in a really cool way. And I realized that a lot of people with the lockdown are doing a lot of live streaming right now. So I thought, hey, why don't I create a video that's going to be helpful for the general public to be able to see how they can up their live stream game. So that includes, chats like this, or doing a completely separate live stream video, and all kinds of things like that can be really, really helpful for somebody that's just like, my laptop is okay, but it makes me look terrible. I want something that looks a little better, maybe sounds a little better. That's what this video is all about. And I'm happy to, you just see me scrub through it. It's basically just going through my switcher system, how all this stuff works. Gets a little bit technical. basically this is building backdrop, it's a pretty long video if we're honest, but it is pretty robust and goes through quite a bit of stuff. So that was one thing that I did personally that would be a good example for my industry, doing media production, being able to share with somebody that's just a helpful thing. It just helps up your brand. In my case, it helps establish myself essentially as an expert. And so what I'd like for you guys to do is, as I'm going through all of this, is of course think about how it relates to your industry and what you're doing in your own business. And so for me, media production, if I could share some things like that, of course it helps build the brand, helps people recognize me as an expert, and hopefully they eventually want to hire me for stuff at some point whenever they may need that in their life and in business. So and we're going to go back here to this guy. And so that would be number one, right? So number two would be think of ways that you can have fun with your brand, like during the lockdown. Everybody's in this together. In a way, nobody really cares about anything that you're posting unless it has something to do with COVID-19 and how they're going to get out of this mess or when it's going to be over or whatever. If you're talking about other stuff, it just comes across as selfish or, just that you're not really up with the times or whatever. It's not good. So something right now about the lockdown is positive. So here's another great example. I'll share with you real quick. This is kind of fun. This is an Italian photographer. As we all know that Italy's been hit pretty hard by the coronavirus outbreak. So, and I apologize. I know I'm assuming all the words look flipped. Is that correct? They all look flipped.
It's actually right on our side.
Oh, it is right. Okay, on mine it looks reversed. So, okay. So, so if you look through, this is just kind of like a fun way that this photographer is kind of poking fun at the lockdown, and we can all kind of relate to this. We've got, your Smart Working, the mask manufacturer. How many of you know people out there making masks right now? The sportsman working out in their house, animal lover going for walks, whatever. Basically your supermarket person, your musician, it's just kind of like stereotyping all these people and where they fit. And I think it's actually been pretty funny and fascinating to see how everyone's taking it, because it's so different and it's a lot of times it's really unexpected. But so this is another great example of something that's just kind of fun that you can do that adds more eyes to your brand, adds more traction to what you're doing. So it's got a whole bunch in here. And cool. Let me get back to this. Appreciate you guys bearing with me as I switch around all over the place here. All right, so that was number two. And just out of curiosity, as I'm going through these, are any of you, looks like three ladies that have joined us, is there anything that you've seen just in those top two or has sparked any kind of like creativity in your own mind with your own brands? Just like being genuinely helpful is number one. And then next one would be just having fun with your brand or with the current situation. It's okay if that's no. All right, I'm getting blank stares. Are you guys hearing me and everything? Yeah? Okay, cool. All right, we'll just keep going. And then the next one would be just taking a serious approach on the whole thing. Really good example of that is Bill Gates, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Of course, their foundation is doing a lot of things to try to find a virus or a vaccine for the virus and move that stuff forward. There's a lot of people that are trying to provide aid. If your company is doing something like that, it's a perfect thing. You definitely want to talk about it. Josh talked about, one of my clients that I've been fortunate to be able to work together with for a long time now is ADT. They are donating $1 million to just coronavirus aid foundations. I forget exactly what they're donating to, but for whatever reason they're doing this, but they're not really talking about it. And a lot of us, it's nice to just do service without expecting anything in return. But the reality is in business, you kind of have to talk about it. And so for whatever reason, somebody just at the the C-level executives decided to donate this money without doing any kind of PR announcement about it. That's a huge failing and something that we had to bring to their attention. Like, hey guys, I know that's great that you're doing this, but we really, really need to get some publicity around this. So let's put something together for it. So it's a very common thing. And I'm consistently surprised when working with larger corporations. Even you'd think that they have so many people and so many minds that they would be able to nail down every single thing and be perfect when it comes to their PR moves or whatever their media content is. But the reality is these are all run by human beings and they all make mistakes all the time, no matter what position they're at or how large or small their company is. It's surprising to me, to be honest, how much of an equal playing field we are on that level, at least. So don't feel like if you are a small company or a small brand that you're at a huge disadvantage there, because if you see things that they're not, you're already ahead of the game. So hopefully that gives a little bit of inspiration. And the next one would be you can educate the public on how they can still keep using your services. So take an educational approach. One example of that is an HVAC. Let's see, it's a client of mine. They do HVAC and electrical install sales training. I know it's kind of a mouthful, but they're kind of the leaders in this specific niche. And so they have consultants that go around all over the country to other HVAC companies and electrical install companies and stuff. And they train their salespeople and their customer service people on sales, on how to get more sales, generate more sales from the calls they're getting and the client interactions, the customer interactions they're having. So what they did was they put together an online resource for people to get their trainings all through online videos. And so my client came over, we shot a little something in our studio to remind all of their clients that they have all these resources that are now available to them. And so they can continue to let their people, their staff be trained by this system. So they won't lose any service even though there's a lockdown happening. So that was one example that I've seen that's really, really effective at educating the public on where your level of service exists. Because if you don't let them know currently, everyone's going to assume that you're not operating and you're not in business. So keep that in mind. The assumption, the level, everyone is going to assume you're shut down unless you let them know otherwise. So even if you just pull your cell phone out and just do selfie mode and just let them know, hey guys, we're still open, we're doing great, or during this time, this is how we've changed things so we can still help serve you as best as we can. Let him know that even that is a big step in the right direction. If you can't do anything else, that would be a very big deal. So, all right. So let's see. Now, of course, with social distancing, one of the big problems with doing like media production is a lot of times you have a large amount of people that get together. It could be, I've been on sets of over 200 people in full costumes with animals and everything, and you can't do that right now. So what would you do instead? There's a couple options. One is you can create something with stock video. There's a lot of stock video sites out there. You can pull stuff together and do a little voiceover yourself at your home and piece something together that way. Or, you can just get your phone out, shoot some video that way. Those are all viable options. But remember that the most important thing about video is its core message, its content, the writing involved. That is more important than anything else. It's the thing that engages us, is the story behind it. It's the message behind it. And so if the message is still strong, people will still be entertained and they'll still watch it, even if it isn't some large production. And so keep that in mind. Don't be afraid if you have something important to say. Don't worry about the fact that you don't have lots of cameras and lots of lighting and all kinds of stuff. At the end of the day, it's not as important as your message. So spend most of your time on your message, the scripting and the writing, and then follow that up later by just putting it together. Now, of course, you should always use the nicest camera and equipment that you have, but that's my little disclaimer, I guess. All right, so that's approach one, is the eye of the tiger approach with Rocky Balboa. He's no matter what comes at you, don't let it get you down. Let's keep pushing forward. That's that mentality. The next mentality, which is perfectly valid, is the Count of Monte Cristo approach. Okay, so if you guys remember Edmond Dantes, he gets locked away for something he didn't do in this horrible dungeon, and he's stuck there forever until he escapes eventually. But while he's locked up there, similar to how we're locked up here, he spent all that time refining himself, getting himself better and prepared for the craziness that would come his way after he escaped from that prison. And he became a better person for it. And there's a lot of similarities we can pull from that story today. So if you want to create something that's really powerful, it's a good size production that's really, that has production value, but you can't do it now. Now is a perfect time to write that out and get all the pre-production set in place so that when you're ready to take on some bigger project that has some real commercial value to it, you can do that. Because no matter what, whether there's a lockdown or not, that's a step that's going to have to be taken, and you can take that right now. And it's really is the most important part of any production, is getting that settled. So getting the writing, the scenes, storyboarding, all that stuff settled. But most importantly, the messaging. So that's another thing that you can be doing right now that'd be super valuable. And that's especially valid if you're in an industry that nobody can frequent right now. So a few examples that I came up with is live events, amusement parks, hair salons, non-essential retail stores, all of that stuff. If you guys are in those positions and you want to come out of the lockdown with like a big announcement or, some kind of a, big production, something to really get eyes back on your brand, this is a perfect time to put that together. Also, if you're in an industry that's not affected, but you just want to come out of the lockdown strong, or you're in a situation where the lockdown is impacting your business to a point where you would get a much bigger boom, much bigger reach, and a much more effective campaign once the lockdown is lifted. Then this is another perfect scenario where this is a great scenario, or a great strategy to use. So my personal opinion, however, is that the best approach, so that's approach one is, your eye of the tiger approach. Approach two is the Count of Monte Cristo approach. Approach three, which I think is the best, is a blending of the two. So using a little bit of, whatever you can do right now, whatever clear and effective messages you can create right now to get out to the general public, do it. Do it right now while everyone's at home. They're not working. They have more free time right now than they will through any other time through the year. And then also, if you have the bandwidth, also write out something that's going to be a little bit more powerful, maybe more production value, maybe something that's a little bit more, crafted. There's some production behind it after that time. So those are my main points that I wanted to cover. I don't know how I'm doing on time. Is that about good, Josh? Or are you?
Yeah, that's good, Shane.
Okay, cool. All right. So I see a lot of comments here. I'm sorry about that.
Which questions do you have for Shane about using video during this time, or maybe even after coronavirus?
So I see one. I'd say having fun. We'll be doing our first live. What do you mean by that specifically? And that's to
Ruve.
Yeah. Well, we are a nonprofit, and so we do things mostly in person. We have a large fundraising event that got canceled because of coronavirus. So instead, we're going to turn it into a live Facebook event and hope we can get people engaged. And sorry, my kids smashing things in the background here. But it'll be just our first opportunity to engage with them, really, through video.
You're muted, I think.
There we go. I'm better. You can hear me now, right?
Yep.
Cool. Sorry, what I was saying is make sure you watch, and I can give you a link to my my live switcher video. Something like that could really be a big boost to doing your first live event. It gives you the ability to switch between lots of different cameras, like you can see right here, that kind of thing. So something like that would be really great for a nonprofit that wants to be able to do something that's a live production, but has a little bit better production value. That, I don't know, I think it could kind of help set yourself apart. If that's not something you're interested in, disregard everything I just said, but hopefully that could help you.
Yeah, anything helps. We're like I said, this is our first time, so.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm an open book too. So if you have any questions on it, feel free to call me or text me or email or anything like that. Happy to send you everything that I know about what's going on with just doing more of a live feed kind of thing. So
Great.
Yep, having fun with content. Good point, Josh. Good call. Doing a live Facebook. Yep. Cool. All right.
Shane, I got a question.
Yeah.
So like one thing we do on our end is like we write a lot of blog posts, but I'm sure you probably get this question too, is like for video, like how do you know what to create video content around? Like how do you know which topics to cover and like how do you make it worth your time?
Yeah, right now it's really easy because, like I said, the only thing people care about right now is coronavirus. So make it something revolved around that, and you're doing okay. The other things I mentioned as well, letting people know how coronavirus relates to what you're doing. Where do you fit into how the world is completely different right now, and everybody's still trying to figure that out. So educating them on how you fit into how that's different is very helpful, I think. I don't know if that answers your question. I think you're probably talking about more around like normal life, but and that is different. So normal life, when you're just going through a normal campaign for a normal client, how do you create content for that? My opinion, it all comes down to really knowing your audience. Step number one, know your audience. If you don't know your audience, there's a lot of ways to test that and figure that out. That's probably a topic for another discussion, but know your audience. What do they like? One of my clients right now is a women's shoe company. And so that's very easy, right? It's not teenage girls. It's not, they're platform shoes. They're for a working woman. So the demographic is very easy. And so, crafting content that matters to that group of people, once you know who you're talking to, the conversation becomes very, very simple at that point. And so you just talk about everything that they care about. And that may or may not necessarily be specifically your shoes or the shoes that you're selling. Could be other things that same demographic cares about that could basically kind of grab them from another part of the internet and direct them back to you. So those are my thoughts on that. Does that answer your question on my kind of how my brain works? On that?
Yeah. I think that's a similar thing. Cause I know from our end, like in terms of creating content, I always ask my clients, like, which problems are people paying you to solve?
That's a really good question.
And
yeah.
So it's like, if they're paying you to solve a certain set of problems, then I would hope that your content helps answers all the possible questions that run along with that singular problem that people are paying you to solve.
Yeah. So that's a great point. So can we have all the people that are in the chat real quick type in the message what problems your customers or clients are paying you to solve? I would love to know this. This is not only a great exercise, it's really good for both me and I think Josh as well to know, just so we can be talking to addressing our comments in the right way. So go ahead. Just
we want to make sure we're addressing your concerns.
Yeah, instead of like way off in some other thing that you don't even care about or it isn't relevant. All right, guys, I don't see any typing going on. I don't know if there we go. All right. Long-term positive outcomes for orphan and abandoned children. That's great. A bit unique. Yep. We're all unique though, like every company's a little different. Which problems do people pay you to solve? Yep. So long-term positive outcomes for orphan and abandoned children. Gosh, does that make you feel good every morning knowing you're doing something that's that like significant for the world. Yeah, good. Yeah, it should help you feel that way.
Laura
It's
said,
crazy. The more I learn about that subject, the more I'm blown away at how much of a bigger problem it is than I ever realized.
okay.
I have some friends that are part of a nonprofit that they organize these like sting operations. They're really interesting. They'll go to some third world country or not even third world country necessarily. They'll go to like Russia or something, and they'll set up some big party with a lot of people, and they ask some groups to bring in a lot of prostitutes to it. And they basically set up this sting because they know that a lot of the prostitutes are underage people or they're being sex trafficked. And as soon as they bring them in, they bust everybody that is part of the organization, and they take them all down. It's kind of cool. And then they're also obviously saving all the people, pulling them off the streets and pulling them out of that life from being sex trafficked. A lot of these people are kidnapped and all kinds of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, that sounds like Underground Railroad, the Operation Underground Railroad.
Yeah. I think my friends are either part of that one or one that does the same exact thing, but yeah.
Yeah, it's great work.
Sweet. Okay, we have Laura said, my clients pay me for oh wait. Okay. Sorry, we got some new messages in the chat, and then my eyes switched and I got a little confused. My clients pay me to level them up in their branding, to solidify their brand identity and set them apart. Okay, so Laura, I think I remember you talking about some of the problems you were dealing with social media in our last workshop. Like all of your video content, really, any sort of content that you share helps people understand like what is the ROI on going through a full rebrand. I guess you can unmute and share with us a little bit about, like, if you don't mind sharing with like what you've seen come about from someone doing a rebrand.
I think I agree that like video content right now is really beneficial. And I can see how I can include that in what I do. I already have a few little video style things that I do, but we do a lot of content creation, and so that involves video as well. I think it's just easier to see how to apply it to other brands than it is to yourself sometimes. So that's where I'm at. Like, I'll do what you ask me to do, and then I'm like, okay, what do I need to do for me? I don't know.
So Laura, you know what I would give you as a tip that I think would be really powerful for you is, and I've seen this online a few times, I think it's really fun, is take other really well-known brands and do your own rebrand on just like even their logo. Mm-hmm. And obviously I know the rebrand is a lot more than just logo design, but if you just start there and just show like, hey, this is how I would handle this. If I wanted to take like AT&T and do a rebrand on their logo, what would it look like?
Yeah.
And just give some cool kind of fun design elements like that. That would be really cool. I think that would be eye-catching and kind of engaging. That would be fun piece. Also, what people ultimately paying you for a rebrand, they're hoping, what they're trying to do is stay relevant in the world. A lot, especially if it's a company that's been around for a while and they want to do a rebrand, they want to stay relevant. They want to show the world that they're continuing to innovate and that they're not just some old stodgy brand. Actually ADT, sorry to keep bringing them up, but they went through a rebrand, I think 2 years ago. And, they're still going through it, to be honest. I go to their branches all over the country all the time. And there's a lot of branches that still have their old branding, some that have their new. It's a total mess up. It's terrible, but they're getting there surely, slowly but surely. But the idea is that you want to show them what a rebrand would do for their bottom line. And sometimes that would include, in my opinion, inducing a little bit of fear. So you paint the picture for them of what their brand would look like in 5 years or 10 years if they continue with their current brand. How much revenue are they going to be losing out on? what is that going to look like to their bottom line? You know, I think some of that fear can be a really good thing in that case, and that could really help you a lot. So go through that a lot, you know, go through that and that's okay if it's, in a way, the way that you up your brand is by upping other people's brands and showing how that can be done. And so you don't necessarily have to worry about your own brand so much, I don't think, as you do just showing how your brand helps up the brand of other people. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Again, I love your accent. It's wonderful.
Okay,
You look embarrassed. You have a fantastic accent. It's wonderful.
Okay, Jody, you said my clients pay me for a self-loving experience and to have a physical product to cherish for the lifetime of their families, loved ones, own legacies. Can you expound on that a little?
Yeah, so we're a Vanity Fair style portrait studio. So it's kind of like a model for a day experience. We have the beauty team here. We do their hair and makeup. I work with Operation Underground Railroad, actually, and we put a lot of their girls through the experience to kind of build their self-esteem again after having physical trauma. So I do that for my clients in their own way, but then also we work with Operation Underground Railroad and do that for even a more important version of what we do, if that makes sense.
Awesome.
Yeah, that does. Okay, so it's like for you, I could really see, I mean, Shane probably knows more, like definitely does know more about this, but I guess through video, it's like video would be a great medium for you to help tell those stories of anyone you've worked with who'd be willing to share their story.
Right. We do use video a lot for our brand and stuff like that because, you know, people are kind of used to a certain photography style business right now, where we're a lot different, where we specialize in fine art products and the experience, not just the photography. And so using video is really the only way that we've been able to really educate our clients on what the difference is versus, you know, what we do versus the normal photography world.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And for
This is a
me,
portrait studio. Is that what you
Huh?
mean? As opposed to just a standard portrait studio, you provide a whole experience.
right.
That's cool.
And so kind of the behind the scenes videos are what we use a lot, or like testimonial videos, you know, of showing their session and then how they felt about kind of the life altering experience. But for me, it's hard to think outside of the box. Besides those things that really educate the client on what we do and really make them want to come and have that experience. Besides that, I'm really lost on video content because that's kind of, you know what I mean, what we put out there and people want to go to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think your story is, I think you're doing the right thing with testimonials. I think that's smart. I think you focus on those videos, you focus on the transformation, because that's the story, is the transformation. It's the before and the after, and how terrible somebody felt about their own image or their own self. And then they were able to realize, like, no, like, that wasn't me. This is me over here. And I feel so much more confident about myself, and I feel beautiful and I feel wonderful. And like, you know, you focus on the transformation. I think you're doing the right thing. And I think what you're, one thing to remind you of, and sounds like you're doing a lot of video, which is perfect. The world has a really short attention span. And so one of the biggest pitfalls I've seen my clients fall into many, many times is like, they just get these star-eyed dreams that I'm going to make this one video and the whole world is going to love my brand and everything's going to transform. The reality is that's not the case. You really need to be hitting this over and over and over and over again and be really relentless with just overpowering your customers' feeds with your brand. Not to be, not being annoying, but being able to let them see it many, many times. I mean, I guess the way I go into, anytime I post something, I just go into it assuming no one's going to watch it. And, so I guess I'm pleasantly surprised when people do, but it's, that with the mentality that nobody's going to watch it. So I better post it a whole bunch of different times or post at different times during the day so that people that, you know, are even friends of mine that are even my family would even end up seeing it. So, I mean, maybe that comes from the fact that when I post stuff, and I talked to my mom about it later. She's like, "Oh, I never saw that." It's like, well, great. Like, if there's somebody in my corner, I would at least hope it'd be my mother, but apparently not. So that's.
Yeah, Shane, I like what you said about like posting without the expectation of someone seeing it almost. I think like I made that mental shift probably like 2 years ago with my own content on social media. And it's really funny because it's like we're trying to market our social media marketing services, right? And we have to be active on social media. But the problem is that our key audience is barely on social media, and that's why they need us. But at the same time, I still have to post, because when they meet me and they're like, oh, that's what he does, that's what this company does, like they go back and check everything to see if I'm actually practicing what I preach.
Yeah.
And so it's like I feel like the same thing with a lot of the things we do is like there's a lot of things that, I mean, for pretty much every one of us on this call, where most of the things we provide, people do not need now, like at this moment, exactly at this moment. Like it's not something super urgent and necessarily like frequent, and not always a life or death situation. But like being consistent and posting, not necessarily like, yeah, you want to return for your time and your efforts. But if we're always expecting like 1,000 likes and 1,000,000 views for a single video that we finally posted after 6 months, it's like that's where I think the frustration starts. So yeah, I really like that.
Yeah. It's like anything. Like you take a look at even a big company, I don't know, name a Fortune 500 company. Let's say like Coca-Cola. Everybody knows Coca-Cola. They don't need any more brand recognition. But when they post an ad or they pay for an ad campaign, even on broadcast television, they don't book it for one slot. You know, they pay for it and it gets run over lots of different channels, lots of different mediums. That's a good lesson to learn when it comes to posting video, is that, you know, you're like, you have to remember the way that you succeed is by lots of people seeing it. So you can't just post at one time and assume that everybody in your feed is going to see it, because they won't. It's unfortunately just the way that social media is programmed. You know, there's a lot of people sharing the same space, so it's just how it goes. And you got to just keep posting. You know, keep being consistent, relentless. Man, we have some rock stars in this group. Seriously, this is so impressive, the stuff that you guys are doing. I love this. It's like you're touching, several of you guys are just really touching people on a really like powerful level. I think that's so inspiring. And I also realized that, uh, uh, how do I say your name? Is it Rava Beck? I see that's your name, but I don't think is that true? Reve. Thank you. All I know is what I'm seeing on the screen, so I apologize for that. But I realized we didn't really answer your question or dive into your nonprofit, and I'd love to spend some time on that before we get too far ahead of ourselves. So you have long-term positive outcomes for orphaned and abandoned children. You guys are a bit unique. That's what I see above. So what kind of content could you guys produce that would be powerful, that would attract people to your brand, to get people to your, I'm assuming you're trying to get people to donate to your cause so that you can affect the lives of more children. Is that essentially the goal? Is that right?
We have about 3 different initiatives. So we do volunteer trips, so that impacts the orphanages that they visit. We do donations and put it towards programs. And then we also partner with universities and other nonprofits to expand that impact.
Okay. So you're trying to get more universities on board. Is that what your goal would be on that branch?
We would. That's not quite this year. We're just in our first big year of development. We've been around for about 14 years, but this is the first year we've had full-time employees and doing a real push for marketing.
Okay.
So our goal right now, we focused a lot on donations this year. We're going to focus more on sharing that mission, the vision with people this year, and kind of expanding our reach.
Okay. So again, going back to your three-prong points that you're mentioning. So getting people to donate would be great. Getting people to go on your trips and what do those trips entail? And then the other one was getting the universities on board. But what do those trips entail?
So people go down to Mexico mostly right now. We are looking at 2 other locations, but they just go down for about a week and they do service while they're there. They get to know the kids. They can, sorry, I do have my kids here.
All my kids are upstairs.
yeah, it makes it all a little bit harder. But so yeah, it's more for the experience and connecting them with the kids. A lot of them build relationships with the kids, and then they become long-term donors, and they go back and visit several times a year. So we encourage them to be like extended family members more than just traveling once or twice.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. So are you doing any video content right now?
Very little. We've just started. So we don't use a lot of video.
Okay. So here's some things that you might play with as far as ideas that I think could be helpful is, you're somebody in this group that's doing something really positive for people on a really profound level. It's amazing. There's a lot of story there. There's a lot of, blessing people's lives in what you're doing. So, that's a very obvious story in my eyes is focus on, again, the transformation, kind of like what we talked about with Jody, of somebody going down to Mexico. What was their life before? What was their outlook on the life or on life in general? How do they view the world before, during, and then after? How has it changed their lives? How are they now a better person? Because I think somebody that would be a really great group for you to reach is parents, because parents, I mean, I know myself, when my daughters get a little bit older, I would love for them to have experiences like that, where they're not, this entitled teenager that gets everything they want or whatever. They're not that old yet, thank goodness. But when they get there, I would love for them to have these like altruistic experiences where they get to bless the lives of other people, because I think it'll help shape them. And, maybe what you do is different stories from different points of view. So point of view of the person receiving help, point of view of a parent sending a child down, or a whole family going down together, maybe a point of view of a teenager going to help other people. Lots of different points of views, and then you can use those different points of views to target different groups of people. If you decide to run things like Facebook ads, you can show a specific ad to a specific group, and then they're going to see the thing that relates the best to them. And the cool thing is, it's all real. You don't have to lie or stretch the truth like a lot of brands have to do. All your experiences would be real, be stuff that you don't have to, do extra production on to make it look more extravagant or more amazing than it is. Because I think what you're doing is probably making a pretty big impact in a lot of people's lives. So I would focus on that, and try, when you go out to do it, craft your messaging beforehand, even though it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking the story is going to come out while you're filming things, or while you're just, even if you're, when I say filming things, you could have a camera crew there, or you could just get some videos with your cell phone, because again, the story is the most important part. And go into it knowing what story you want to tell. That's a hugely helpful thing when you're filming this kind of stuff. Know what story you're going to tell. And so if you're telling a story from the perspective of a teenager, spend some time with that teenager, get some ideas from them, try to understand what's important to them. Because teenagers, they have this thing where they try to show off they try to show off this vibe that they don't really care about the world, or they're too good for things, or it's not good enough, or it's not fun, or not cool, or whatever. But if you show that it really impacts their life, I think even teenagers that have this wall up are going to be able to be able to share something that's really powerful and really cool. So yeah, I don't know if that's helpful, but that's what I would do. I'll give you another little tip as well. Recently, within the last few months or so, I started a YouTube channel for something that I'm really passionate about, which is real estate investing. The reason I'm so passionate about it is because it's the number one method I've seen that allows people to get financial freedom. And I believe that once you have financial freedom, you can start to really, really bless the world. And it allows lots of other people that aren't necessarily good at nonprofits to be able to now have time to be able to participate in nonprofits and go down to Mexico and help other people, or help in the Underground Railroad, or do whatever they can do, but it basically gives them the freedom. So that's what I'm passionate about. So I started a YouTube channel about that. So here are the things that I did that I feel are helping that become more and more successful over time. First off, I started with the idea of I'm going to get 10 videos in place before I even post a single one. Why did I do that? Because I know that life gets in the way of things, and I wanted to be able to post a video every single week. So every Thursday, there's one scheduled to post. I think I have around 15 different videos that are all in line right now that are ready to go out. They'll be posting every Thursday. It's already pre-scheduled. You can pre-schedule all of that in the YouTube uploader, by the way. And so you can schedule that. And so once they're already done, you don't have to necessarily be frantically trying to create a new video every single week, especially if you have a busy week or something like that. So that would be step number one when you're creating a new YouTube channel or a new feed of some kind like that. The other one is try to figure out systems because video production, if you're doing it on your own, I'm warning you right now, can be enormously time consuming. It can just swallow up your entire life, especially the post-production side of things. So before you do that, come up with some systems, some ways. Maybe it's with equipment, maybe it's with hiring people, maybe it's with messaging, storyline. Come up with a way to make sure that's as streamlined as possible so it takes up the least amount of your time as possible. What that's going to translate to is more messages being created, more posting happening, and more people with eyes on your nonprofit or your business or whatever it is. So that's step number 2. Step number 3 would be write out and be constantly thinking of relatable and relatable content that's going to match your brand and match what you're trying to accomplish, that's going to be able to be used as future videos. So the best videos that I've found are ones that answer a single question or go after. And the way I've learned this is by not doing that. So the way I've done this, the way I've messed that up in the past with other videos that I've done is creating a video that answers lots of questions and does lots of things and stuff. And that's not the best way to promote a video, and it's not the best way to title a video. To get people to watch your videos, the title and thumbnail are the most important parts. The content is the third most important part in that. So when you get a good title and thumbnail, that will help direct what the rest of the content of the video is. So come up with great thumbnail and great title ideas for your videos so that you always have this list. And every time you get a new idea, just put it in the same spot in a list. I use Google Keep. And then that way you'll always have tons of content to keep pulling from whenever you're ready to do another video piece or more marketing content. So those are my main points for starting a new channel, things that are going to help you be successful. Also remember, as a mindset, just plan on nobody watching it for the first year. If you're not getting any traction after that, maybe you rethink some things. But the way success is found overwhelmingly is not going down a path for a couple months, deciding it's not working, and then abandoning it. It's going down a path, refining that path, going down that path, refining that path, and continually doing refinement after refinement, and really never ending that refinement path. Continually
Hey, Shane.
Really doing better. And I'm getting long-winded, but that was my last point. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Shane. So yeah, we got to start wrapping up. Shane, what is the best way for everyone to get in touch with you if they have any other questions?
Let me put that in the description here. All right, you can do those two. Or let's see here. Give you my Facebook page too.
Okay.
Guys, I'm on a little bit of a rant there. I'm sorry about that, but geez,
it happens. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. like it's always cool to learn from Shane. Shane's definitely worked with some really great companies and has a great track record. If there are any topics that you would like to cover in future Zoom workshops, if this was any of value to you, shoot me an email at josh@jamiascreative.com. And if I don't have the answers for you, I will find someone who does. But thank you again for checking out our free workshop. And yeah, then thanks again, Shane. Appreciate your expertise.
Dude, thanks for having me on. This is so fun. I love being able to spend some time with people that actually care about the subject. So it's fun.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Thanks, everybody.